Well, welcome back to the DOV Family Podcast, everyone. We have a very special guest today, Dr. Ray Guarendi. You may have heard of Dr. Ray. He's everywhere. He's a Catholic father of 10 adopted children, a clinical psychologist, author, professional speaker, and national radio and television host. His radio show, The Doctor Is In, can be heard on over 440 stations and Sirius XM Channel 130. His TV show, Living Right with Dr. Ray, can be seen on EWTN Global Catholic Network and is aired in 140 countries. Dr. Ray will also be a presenter for our upcoming Be an Amazing Parent workshops, speaking October 27th on Standing Strong as a Parent. Registration available at victoriadiocese.org/parents. Welcome, Dr. Ray.
Hi, Justin.
So where are you right now?
I'm sitting in a recliner in my living room.
That's a great place to do an interview. Well, I'm glad you're resting because you're very busy. Thank you so much for all you've done for the church and continue to do. And soon you'll be speaking on virtual workshops in our diocese. And your topic is standing strong as a parent. Why is this such an important topic for parents, especially in today's society?
The culture is no longer on parents' sides at all. One of the most tragic things I see, Justin, is parents who have tried very hard to raise their kids in the faith and then one day look at that child at 16, 17, 20, 25, 30, 35 and say, wait a minute, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Where is the faith? We didn't raise them this way. And what happened was, I believe them, they didn't, but they underestimated what did. The forces of the culture. Never before, Justin, has a culture been so good seductively pulling kids out of the faith and convincing them that the way that Jesus and his church say to do it is just so long ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dr. Ray, I see in my day-to-day life what you just shared. So I'm in a men's group, and there's about 8 or 10 of us. And the question came up is are your kids still practicing? The only guys whose kids were still practicing the faith are guys like me whose kids are still in the home. Every other guy, if their kids were out of the home, they weren't practicing.
This has never happened before, Justin, in the history of Christianity.
Yeah.
In most times, what you were raised with, you stayed with. The main influences on shaping who you were your parents or the family or the clan or the tribe. Well, now the culture is so absolutely good, and I use that word in quotes, at convincing kids, at shaping kids to think very differently, to feel very differently, and to look at the morals that God has given us, which work. Trust me, I'm a psychologist. I know. I live in human misery. I watch these upside down lives. These people who have left the faith, by and large, are not as happy as they would have otherwise been.
Yeah.
And they don't understand. Why not? Well, to the degree you leave the way God says to do it, you are inviting anxiety, depression, chaos, upset, all manner of things that the society says, well, wait a minute, just you're doing okay. You should be doing what we're telling you to do. And I've really shifted, Justin. I have now tried to get parents to stand strong against this, to slow down the pace that their children are being made worldly by the culture around them, to slow down giving them a smartphone, to slow down what they watch. Because if you don't, what'll happen is the shaping will begin very young, and you will be struggling breathlessly to keep up with it, and much of the time you'll lose.
Yeah, that's a theme of different things we've been talking about in our diocese is slowing down. The number one challenge facing families on a survey we did a couple of years ago was overly demanding schedules. And then the second was the threat of media. So right in line with what we're seeing here in Victoria, Texas, and you've written a number of books. One of your most popular is Raising Upright Kids in an Upside Down World, Defying the Anti-Parent Culture. Now, I got to say, the opening chapter, the intro, has so many nuggets of truth. I just really encourage folks to pick it up. But what do you mean by the anti-parent culture, and how do you see that at work today?
I wanted that subtitle I asked the publisher, please let me have that subtitle. Because if you just say raising upright kids in an upside down world, there is a boatload of books out there that say, yeah, we're going to teach you how to raise a great kid. Now, that's nothing new. The difference is the culture is really against parents. At every level, it is against a parent who wants to raise a virtuous, moral kid. So you have to defy that culture. And I use the word defy because it fits well within discipline. You know, when we talk about defying, we immediately think of a kid who's opposing discipline. Well, this time around, it's the parents who are having the guts to oppose the culture. You know, Justin, if my kids go off in their various directions, and some of them have, I want it to be, I can be at peace if it's because they had to go through me, not because I stepped aside and compromised with the culture.
I love that, Dr. Ray. I love so much of your advice because it's so down to earth, it's practical, and just tells us, hey, you're doing better than you think you are, parents. Go with your gut, trust yourself, and stand strong. Maybe a little teaser of what you might talk about October 27th, but if there's a parent listening who feels their child is out of control, or maybe the child doesn't see them as an authority figure, what are some immediate things they can do to kind of get back in the driver's seat and establish that role again in their home?
I will give them techniques that are the most powerful techniques I've ever developed, I've ever seen in my over 40 years of being a shrink. It will put them back in charge. It will make them believe that their child is nowhere near as strong-willed as they think he is. It will calm them down, and it will show them the authority that they have, not in a jackbooted, kick the door down, I'm back and I'm ticked punk way. In a quiet, calm, I'm the parent. This is what I'm going to do. Now, I'm teasing you because I'm not giving you the technique. That's exactly right. You want the technique? You listen on October 27th. I will tell you, I guarantee it, I will tell you how to get calm, confident authority back or to increase it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it personally because, you know, we have a son that it's very easy for folks to say, oh, he's very strong-willed. He's very strong-willed. What you're saying is, yeah, actually, he may not be as strong-willed as you think. So I'm looking forward to some nuggets myself for our 6-year-old.
Strong-willed, Justin, is by far, the most overused, misleading adjective leveled at our children today. By far. These are not strong-willed kids. These are kids. They are asocial, immoral, self-centered because they're kids. And they have fallen human nature. So this is a classic example of how the shrinks have misled parents. Everybody thinks the child is strong-willed. Well, wait a minute. If he's strong-willed, that means he's out of the norm. What's the norm? Well, the norm is he's supposed to cooperate. Says who? Parents used to understand that kids are not going to cooperate with you.
Yeah. Their natural reaction is going to be to scream for what they want, right? Cry until they get what they want. That's the natural.
That's the natural, and it just gets more that way as they get older. I want to do what I want to do. You're in the way. And a parent has to be stronger-willed. This is what I tell folks. I'll say, you know, my 10 adopted children, some of them have had very bad histories. And according to the research, they should be very difficult to raise. Now, I did have some kids with a lot of quirks, learning disabilities, et cetera, et cetera. However, I did not describe any of my 10 children as strong-willed. And the reason is the strongest-willed of my 10 children was not stronger-willed than his mother. There's the difference.
Amazing. Well, I am so excited. I just have to ask a little bit about your story, Dr. Ray. So you've written numerous books on psychology, the Catholic faith, parenting. You've been on TV, radio, a popular speaker. How did this happen? How did God lead you down this path, Dr. Ray?
Major accident. Well, maybe it was God's providence, but I'm not going to assume something. I grew up raised as a secular psychologist. That's what I did. I went into an office. I consulted to schools, I consulted to courts, I consulted to drug programs, I consulted to state hospitals. You name it, Justin, I consulted to them. And the media that I did was 90% secular. I was on Oprah many times, Jenny Jones, CBS This Morning, all of those shows. I did hundreds and hundreds of radio shows all the time. One of the things I was told was, you are very suited for television and radio. Well, nothing ever happened. There were opportunities, but they fell through. As I got older, I thought, well, I guess that's kind of it. You know, I'm going to just be doing secular media. And 90% of the speaking engagements that I did were to public groups, school districts, Head Start programs, hospitals, Kiwanis, dental associations, principal associations. Maybe 10% of what I did was religious. In the last 20 years, there has been a dramatic shift. Now, part of that is because of the radio and TV that is a religious network, EWTN. The biggest part of it, Justin, is that people will go to my website and they will look and see that I'm associated with Catholic media. They will not touch me. Even though for 20 years, I did secular talks. I didn't talk Jesus. And I received many invitations. I was speaking 100 plus times a year.
Yeah.
But now, because they operate out of the stereotype and the cliche, well, this guy's got a religious tone to what he says. Well, we can't have him. So now pretty much everything I do is Catholic. It's not even Christian anymore. I used to do a lot of Christian groups. They won't do it either. So it's fascinating how this all came about. I still see clients and I still write, but much of what I do is media and speaking and private practice.
Very interesting. Well, maybe it's just a continuation of what you wrote about in Raising Up Bright Kids in an Upside Down World, the culture moving further and further away from God and religion. And I think that's shown in the invitations you receive now, right?
I used to give this talk. I used to give the same talk or similar to what you're going to hear on October 27th. It got very, very good reviews. I didn't talk Jesus. I didn't talk God. I just simply talked traditional, helpful, workable morals.
Yeah.
The response I got was very, very good. Got invited back constantly. The cliche and the stereotype of, oh, well, he's religious. And have him pretty much killed every single one of those audiences.
Well, I think, the advice you give, one thing I see a difference in the culture is, it's become more and more about the child making big choices earlier and earlier in life. It's the child's choice. But you're bringing us back to what is actually biblical, scriptural, and just works is, no, the parent is in charge. The parent is the one entrusted with this beautiful gift of a child. They are the ones who need to help form this child to be a healthy adult, because if they don't, the culture will discipline them. That's one of the lines I love from one of your talks I heard. If you don't discipline your child, their landlord will one day. The police will one day. We have to take up our role as parents. We have to take charge.
Have you heard the phrase chronological snobbery?
Nope.
It basically means we are smarter than anybody who ever came before us.
Yeah.
Those people really were throwbacks. They didn't have the wisdom that we have. So in the last couple of generations, we have been raising children with enlightened psychological theories.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be bad if they worked.
Right.
But they worked for only a small percentage of kids and parents.
Right.
By and large, the wisdom of history and the wisdom of raising children with parents in charge worked a lot better than it's working now. Obviously, look at our schools. You have to have police in all the schools. Who would have ever thought of that 40 years ago? The people will tell you who are small business people, I can't hire anybody. They don't show up. They come in and they leave.
Right.
They have to go through 20 people to get one maybe. So all of this is overwhelming evidence that the way we're doing this and the way we're surrendering to the culture is not working. But we keep doubling down on it.
Makes sense, total sense, Dr. Ray. Well, I am very excited for your presentation. So many reasons to attend. Maybe just last question, Dr. Ray, what's one thing you would tell parents who are maybe on the fence, or a grandparent listening who's on the fence, maybe coming, maybe not? What would you tell them about why they should join us October 27th, or maybe for the others as well?
They're going to come away with more confidence, with more authority. They're going to be more relaxed. They're going to quit beating themselves up. They're not going to have as much guilt, and they're going to be in charge.
And who doesn't want those things? So thank you, Dr. Ray. We look forward to October 27th. So folks, again, it is just $25 to get access to all 3 of our presentations. We have the first talk will be on practical ideas for family faith by author Katie Warner. The next presentation, October 20th, we're talking about discipline with Mike and Alicia Hernan from the Messy Family Project. And then October 27th is our third hitter here, batting cleanup, because we have 3 speakers in front of him. Dr. Ray, bringing it all home, standing strong as a parent. Register at victoriadiocese.org/parents. Thank you again, Dr. Ray.
Justin, appreciate it.